All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to See It, a show about movies and stuff. This is Brian Williams from Brian Knows Movies. You can follow me everywhere at Brian Knows Movies, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the main places I am. I just canceled my Twitter or X or whatever it was because it wasn't helping me at all, and it was becoming really glitchy and it evolved to be or devolved, if you will, to be in like the worst social media app on the planet. So I'm not on Twitter anymore. But you can also find me at brianknowsmovies.com, where you'll see all of my reviews there. I'm so excited to be here for our 25th episode. So we've been doing this almost a year now. Really excited milestone for this one. Love talking about movies and Hollywood news and trivia with you guys, and thank you so much for everybody who's been rocking with me this whole time. Thank you to all the newcomers that continue to come as well. I have a special guest with me today, Rod. Rod is part of so many things here in Kansas City where I live, as well as a good friend. We grew up together. We went to the same church. We're basically transitioned from high school to manhood and learned a lot and all those types of things. But what's been the most impressive about Rod is his musical acumen. He's been playing. He started at the church, and if you've seen this guy evolve and the things that he's done from there, you would be amazed. Carter Media Creative is where you can find him as well as RCBJ Music. What's up, Rod? Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, Brian? I almost didn't know who you was talking about the way you was pumping me up there.
Future Grammy winner, future EGOT winner.
I'll take it.
I was really excited to bring Rod on because today we're talking about film scores. It's a pretty important part of movie making is the scoring of films, and Rod is also been influenced by film scoring. He's been composing music for years, but he's also in that world and in that realm as well in terms of film scoring. So what better person to bring on than somebody who would know his stuff? And so we're going to talk about some of our favorite film composers, film directors, as well as how they impact the movies that we love. So to get started, I just want to give a quick definition of film scores. Basically, it's what you think of. It's the most simplified term is that it's the background music of movies and TV, right? It's so much more than that to me, but that's probably the quickest one-line answer I can give to you. But it's the composition and the arrangement of music to enhance the story that's being told on film. You know, they work with the director, who is your creative artist that's putting everything together, and they come up with these pieces to either intensify action scenes or bring in huge scenes of emotion or really transcend a film from good to great. Film scoring is so important, and it's so fickle because a lot of movies, I was thinking about this the other day, Rod, a lot of movies that I'd have problems with are movies that have film scores that sound like they're either real cheesy or starts to kind of feels like daytime soap type of stuff. A lot of Lifetime movies are like that. A lot of romantic comedies that are cheaply produced are like that, and it's so distracting and so annoying that it takes you out of the film. But that's basically what films. What do film scores? What does film scoring mean to you, or how would you define it?
Man, first, if I can start from the beginning. Hold on real quick. Let me put some headphones on so I can look professional. I ain't got nothing plugged up into them, but I see you guys. Go ahead and follow suit. You know what? I can't even hear how these things. I'm just gonna do that. First, let me say, man, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm honored. I'm a big fan. I do watch your show quite a bit, and I'm just really proud of you, Brian. You're really doing your thing, and I appreciate it.
Hold on real quick, Rod. We just got a message that says your mic isn't on, but I can hear you. But I don't know why. Yeah, let me see if I can troubleshoot something on my end, because I can hear him fine. Please comment in the comment section if you still can't hear Rod.
No, I see it's registering on my side, so I'm not sure.
I'm not seeing any issues on my side either.
Am I supposed to see any of the chat? I don't see no chat either. Or is that all? Is that all you? I don't know how to do this web stuff, man.
I think the chat has to be all me. Let me look at my sound levels.
Okay. Check my levels.
Yeah, interview levels is coming through okay on my end. We're getting a couple of chats. Courtney, I can hear them. Tina Bibbs, I can hear them. So maybe it was just like a little lag or something. But it look like we're good to go. Sorry to cut you off. Continue to praise me now.
You're good. I'm finishing up this banana real quick. So, my love for scoring probably started, man, when I was a kid. Like I was a Disney kid, and so that's the first time that I actually remember paying attention to music in films. It was most influential pieces of music for me in Disney was like the score to Beauty and the Beast, all the songs, even Little Mermaid. Just that's when I started noticing and taking real, giving real attention to music. And I realized that it's a vital piece to film, right? It's extremely vital. You ever try to watch an Avengers scene on mute? It just doesn't hit the same, you know. You ever try to watch Matrix? Watch especially Matrix because it's got a bunch of cheesy effects to it. Who was this? Oh, my bad. My mom was texting me. She said, "Hey, bro, my mom said sit up straight." Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm sitting up straight or not, but let me go ahead and sit up too.
But no, man, that was my initial influence, and I realized that it's all about passion, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all about constructing something that would grab the viewer. You know what I'm saying? Composing something that enhances what a person visually sees. You know what they see visually. It's because you can look at it, but it doesn't hit you. It doesn't hit you. It doesn't connect with you until you hear music behind it. Even like passionate scenes, slow scenes, sad scenes, different things like that. You can look at a dog get ran over by a car and you'll be like, oh wow. But if there's some slow music behind it, then it's starting to hit you in the old ticker. So that's it's a vital piece, and I just fell in love with it, man.
I think that's so true, especially for like action scenes. I'm glad you mentioned like the Matrix. When you go to like the most thing I can compare it to having a movie with no score is probably theater, and how they're able to act and get you to a place just by their acting on set. But when there's like a fight scene or action scene in theater, they still have to put some music on it. Or because I think that they know it's going to look kind of silly if there's no type of music to inform the moment, right? Even like
especially theater because there's no there's no camera angles that you can change, so that you can't really tell that they didn't get hit. You know, so if the punch isn't a good delivered punch, then if it's silent, you know, you're laughing when you're not supposed to be.
And then you hear people laugh. Yeah, it's a quick downturn on that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. We have a bunch of composers we're going to talk about in our favorite scores from them. We're going to start with what I consider to be the big three in terms of film composition. These are all Oscar winners and have been in almost every movie imaginable that we love. We're going to talk about three of them. And then also I'll highlight some ones that you might want to listen to as well, or movies you might want to see and really pay attention to those scores. I will say before we start also that I apologize in advance. I tried my best, guys. I really did, to figure out how I can play this music on the live stream and make it work. But YouTube specifically, they will cut the live almost immediately, like within 3 seconds of playing something that has music in it because of copyright. And so because of that, I don't want the live to get broken. So instead, what I did is that you will see in the description of this video, of this live stream, all of the music we're going to talk about. And so if you wanted to like click it and listen to it like on another tab on your phone or another tab on your laptop or iPad, please feel free to do that. You should still be able to hear us talk about the film. And then also, if you're not, especially if you're not familiar with the score just by the name of the movie, but I promise when you hear it, the first 10 seconds you're going to know what it is and be like, oh yeah, this really slaps. So anyway, we're going to start with probably numero uno, the best in the business in history, not just in the last 40 years. And that's our man, John Williams. John Williams has composed some of the most, he's composed my childhood. He's composed the most serious films of my adult life. Everything you can think of, he has been a part of. He's one of the main collaborators with one of my favorite directors, Steven Spielberg, but he works with others as well. And he does everything from E.T. to Game of Thrones, right? So he's all over the place. These are my personal favorites, the ones I picked. I know that Rod loves John Williams too. And so he'll probably have some to share with you as well. But let's start with E.T. I'm not going to try to sing all of these because I am tone deaf.
Even if you sing them, they might cut the.
They might cut us out too if I do hit the note. So I'd have to do like a minor chord or something just to keep it keep it from getting. E.T. I saw E.T. when I was probably 6 or 7. It's the first it's the first children's movie that I can remember that did not have animation that I watched, right? Because a lot of it was just like Disney stuff or Sword in the Stone or those types of things. E.T. was a movie made for children, but with no animation. It did have, obviously, the practical effects of actual E.T. himself, but I think it was probably either this or Never Ending Story. I think it was probably E.T. the first one that I saw. And it really... E.T. too, yeah. And the way that Steven Spielberg, if you listen to him talk about this film, his whole purpose was to create a world of wonder and splendor for children. That's, if you look at the angles that he shot this movie, anytime that he's got the camera on the children, he's got a camera at eye level, and even when they're moving around the house, the camera's still at like under the counter, so you're looking at this from a child's eyes as opposed to it's a really cool thing. And the music was composed that way as well. I can remember the emotion. I was kind of a emotional kid, I guess. I remember the emotions I felt when they went over. E.T. didn't die. E.T. went home.
Well, he died for a second. They resurrected him.
Oh yeah. So them on the bike, as you see in the trailer there, I remember it 100%. Do you have any connections to E.T. and did the music help at all?
Yeah, the film E.T. for me was it was an experience. To this day, I still have yet and from what I've seen, no one has done an alien movie like that. You know what I mean? Every other alien movie is scary, right? Every other alien movie, we're being attacked or we're being probed by something. You know, it's all wrapped or shrouded in this cloud of fear. I don't know how the aliens that are coming now, I don't know what's going to happen with them, but
I didn't even think about that when I put this on here. We might be seeing E.T. sooner than I thought.
we might be, man. But yeah, the music very memorable. Once again, John Williams, man, has a way of making simple melodies extremely memorable, and like they're not complex, and that's probably why they are memorable, because they're extremely simple. But just even when you're just humming the melody, you can still hear the orchestration behind it. But yeah, very well done, very well done. Working the audio with the visual, all the movements, all the changes that happen as the characters went through changes. You know, again, very well done. One of John Williams' best work, if you ask me. And it's funny to see it now because the sound is nostalgic. You know, like even now, John Williams probably wouldn't score something like that. You know, the way that he did in in the way he did in E.T. Oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was brilliant, man. I was a bit of an emotional kid too. Watching, I got excited when E.T. kept saying Elliot, Elliot.
I'd really need to do like a watch along for some films on this channel because
Uh,
ET would be one of them. It's really quick too. It's not long. I think it's like 90 minutes
no,
long, if that.
it's not.
So,
It's not.
so you can knock it out pretty quick.
Right.
Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom. He had the most recent one, Dial of Destiny, that came out earlier this month, and John Williams had something to do with that too. I'm not the biggest
Did you
fan
do?
of. I'm
Did
sorry.
you do the? Did you do a Did you do a video on Indiana Jones?
I didn't do a video on Indiana Jones. I talked about it on my show and how I thought it was a good send off, but it wasn't really a good film. It was really kind of just playing off nostalgia type of thing. Probably why it didn't do too well in the box office either, because a lot of the box office, the way these movies make money is you got to get repeat viewings from people who love movies. It's not going to be a bunch of first time viewers. I don't think anybody went and saw this film the way that they thought it would because of the nostalgia and the send off. It got really silly at the end, but it was fine. It was fine. But this is also coming from somebody who's not a huge Indiana Jones fan. I think that it's a very uneven. It's probably the most uneven work connected to Steven Spielberg from the first one, which was really good but very simple film. Especially the first like half hour is just a big adventure of him trying to get to steal something or get something out for his museum.
Right.
Nazis, it's easy to hate. Temple of Doom is really dark and it's probably the more interesting of them in my opinion. But also it has aged very well. It's pretty racist if you look at it from a 2023 lens towards brown people and Indian people. Last Crusade is great. It's Last Crusade is probably the best one that I like. Anyway, long story short, I still think that this is the most memorable score from Steven Spielberg movies. Dun, 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 dun. You don't have to have even seen Indiana Jones to know that score.
Right. That's true. Once again, another iconic sound. Like to this day, I still only remember watching one Indiana Jones film. I don't even know which one that was. I just remember the rolling ball part. I remember him swinging in front of the rolling ball. I remember.
So that's the first one. That's the first one, then.
Is that the first one? Okay. And I remember him being chased by a bunch of wilderness people or something like that.
Wilderness people.
I don't know, some cave, some maybe that was the temple.
Yeah, I think you've seen two of them. Because Temple of Doom, he gets chased quite a bit by like the I keep calling them Indian wilderness people. But folks that are like Gen Xers, I think that Indiana Jones really, really means a lot more to them than it does later generations. But it's a fine franchise with a great score. Jurassic Park. I used to collect dinosaurs. I thought I was going to be a paleontologist when I was a kid. This is before Jurassic Park came out, but that really solidified how much I loved dinosaurs as I was a kid. This came out, I think, in 95. That's when Jurassic Park came out, 95, 96. So I'd have been like 10 years old. And I still believe, out of everything that was made in the 1990s, and including The Matrix and a lot of the action movies coming from Michael Bay, Bad Boys, you name it, I think that Jurassic Park still looks the best out of any of those films. I think
You're talking about the graphics?
Yeah, the special effects, the practical effects. It looks like something that could have... I wouldn't say it looked like something that would be made today, but it looks like something that probably could be made late 2000s. It looks really, really good. And that helps when you... But I think that that's also my belief in that is when you first see those dinosaurs, when they go out to that open field and that music... It like this really like... It gives you goosebumps when you see it on screen and you hear what's going on. It there's like a synthesis that happens with that music. It just very, very great use of music here.
That was definitely one of my top John Williams pieces. It was I liked it so much that if you go on my YouTube channel, I rescored. I rescored that a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had. I found it on YouTube. Man, you can find anything on YouTube. I found scenes from that movie that didn't have music to it. And if you go and watch it, it's like just the dialogue and just the scenes. And so I took
Mm-hmm.
that, downloaded it, and tried to recreate a score of my own or try to score it myself. Man, to this day, that's still my most popular video at 106,000 views. And
Wow.
it's probably just because it's Jurassic Park. It's probably not because of me, but it's real talk, man. It was really an iconic piece. I like my piece as well. Don't get me wrong, but I'm no John Williams, but
But hey, at least you try to put you at least try to tackle it. Like, hey, can I
yeah,
do
man.
something that can complement this? So
I'm,
that's
I'm
what's
not
up.
afraid of a good challenge,
For those who are on the chat, if you want to mention any of your favorite John Williams scored films, some of the ones that kind of come to mind is Superman. I saw that Rod has the Superman shirt on. If I knew he was going to wear that,
Yeah, I
I'd
did
probably
that
put Superman on the
intentionally.
list too. Jaws, Schindler's List, Star Wars, of course, Hook. The most recent film he was nominated an Oscar for was The Fablemans, which is a much more kind of softer and muted type of score for what he does for most Steven Spielberg films. Munich, you name it, he's done it. So if John Williams scored my childhood, then Hans Zimmer definitely scored huge parts of my adulthood.
Fact,
The Dark
fact.
Knight, the Lion King was a random one that I had to add because it's so good, and that's the
Hmm.
one that he actually won his first Oscar for was for the
Right.
Lion King score. And then Inception. This is my wife's favorite composer. She loves the Inception score,
Hmm.
specifically, and the Lion King are the two big ones for her. But he's done a bunch of stuff. The Da Vinci Code, Gladiator is amazing. He's done Interstellar, Pirates of the Caribbean. He's just done it all.
Right. Yeah, Hans Zimmer, man, is a different type of beast. Like it, uh, comparing the two though is like apples and oranges. Both of them are just stellar at both of what they do, but they definitely do different things. I think I didn't start paying attention. I was a late Hans Zimmer fan because I was such a John Williams fan, but I didn't pay attention to Hans Zimmer until Inception.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just because I hadn't seen anything like Inception before, and that assisted in what I heard, or the other way around. But man, them long notes, bah, bah, just mind blowing, man. It gripped me in every way, and I was like, dude, who did this? And that's still today one of my favorite movies, just because number one, Leonardo DiCaprio,
Mm-hmm.
beast. And number two, just the whole conception of the movie itself, and then the score on top of it, crazy, crazy.
I Hans Zimmer is probably one of the best out there, if not the best out there, for intensity, making you feel anxious,
Right.
intense. The
Yeah.
scene in The Dark Knight when Batman has to choose who he's going to save between the two,
Yeah. Between ship,
and
between the
the
two ships, or
yeah,
the
it's
ship of the world. Yeah.
it's so manic the way that
Mhm.
sounds.
Right.
Um, Inception's the same way. I feel like even Gladiator, the very intense moments in Gladiator, in terms of the fights inside the Coliseum, you feel
Hmm.
blood pumping is not what I think of. There's somebody that we're going to talk about here next that kind of does that, but it's more of
Hmm.
a you just feel anxious and there's
Yeah.
a in a good way,
Yeah.
and I think that it's different, like the movements that he creates compared to a John Williams, because it's not a lot of melody. You can correct, you know better than I do, but it doesn't feel like it's a lot of melody as opposed to uh,
Yeah.
feelings of just like intense sounds
Yeah.
through
It,
most of his movements.
I was studying something on John Williams and his intro into film scoring, and he approached it differently than from just like a symphonic composer. He would find other mediums of creating music, especially like synthesized music. He did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that back in the early '70s. He did a lot of synth heavy stuff. And so while John Williams is melodic master, um, Hans Zimmer, like you said, he's not melody heavy in a lot of places, but he's really weighty when it comes to minor chords. You know what I'm saying? Real heavy minor chords, because those always bring the tension anyway. And he does it brilliantly. He does it brilliantly, man. He's not dancing all over the place with it. Like I said with Inception, man, it's just long, hard eighth notes. You know, just the same pulsing, punching, just big, beautiful, man.
It gives a very intentional rhythm to the movie too.
Yeah.
So the third big guy I wanted to talk about was Danny Elfman. Danny Elfman, also an Oscar winner like the other two. He did probably his first score that really popped out to people was Batman. That song. And Batman, let's just talk about Batman just in general. Batman, all of them, even the bad Batmans of the mid-1990s, they always have great music.
They do, man. And some of the movies themselves suck, man. Like they're really bad. I didn't even like Batman until I liked the animated series,
which uses the same music or a version of the same music.
Right.
As
the Dark Knight.
No, as this original '89 Batman, it uses the same music as that.
Oh, okay, got you. But I didn't after. I want to say after the one with the Penguin, or no, maybe it was the one with the Riddler and the Penguin. That was they in the same one?
No, so Batman, the first Batman was Jack Nicholson, who he won an Oscar for it too as the Joker. The second one was the Penguin with Danny DeVito, and then Catwoman with Michelle Pfeiffer were the two biggies in there. The third one was I don't remember who the third one was. The third one was the fourth one was the Riddler and the third one was Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face. That's what it was. Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face in the third one.
I didn't see that one.
The fourth one was the Riddler with Jim Carrey, and then Mr. Freeze with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then the bat nipples. Everybody talking about the suit having nipples and it just being real silly. Nipplegate's what they called it. Well, that's what I call it.
Yeah, man. They were bad movies, but they always had great instrumentation. They always had great instrumentation. They're notorious for that. So I'm with it. Yeah.
I always knew Batman. I always knew Batman in the fourth one. I always knew that he was really excited to beat up some bad guys because the nipples on the suit was just so hard. And he would just, I'm like, him and Robin are just like ready to go at it. Like, this is inappropriate for a 12-year-old to be, okay, I'm going to stop. Go ahead. What you saying?
Yeah.
Either it was cold. I mean, Mr. Freeze was in it. I don't know what it was, but it just pierced through the suit.
It definitely did something special for Batman to be able to knock guys around.
Oh man, he said evil, yeah.
Right.
Did you see the most recent Flash movie?
Yeah, I took my kids to see it.
So you saw the George Clooney cameo at the end? Yeah. Oh, that's silly. That was good.
I was disappointed in the Flash movie just because I was disappointed in the Flash movie because it had everybody else in it. I wanted a Flash origin story, just like the series. That's what I wanted. You know, I didn't want like another Justice League. You know, I wanted just the Flash. I wanted to see how that. You know, I wanted to see somebody redo. But I don't like DC anyway. So, with the exception of this show.
The Flash. I think that they gave Ezra Miller. They gave them too much to do. Like. Playing yourself in two different, it just never works in movies for me because you have to be so different, and either it's like slapstick comedy or there's no nuance to the different characters. I just think it was silly. Real quick for the comments, Tina Bibb says love Schindler's List. Schindler's List. Speaking of scores, I almost put that on the John Williams score. John Williams scored Schindler's List. Schindler's List is the only movie that I've ever like shed tears to. It was at the end, and the war was over, and they were talking about how the Allies were liberating the different concentration camps, and Oscar, who had built his own concentration camp to save Jews, he was like, if this ring right here, this ring was three more people. This car, I could have sold this car, and it was like he had already like saved hundreds of Jews by what he did, and instead of relief, he just felt regret, you know, and it was just so heavy from what you saw in the movie and the different risks that he took, and it messed me up. And then then at the end where they have like Oscar Schindler sitting in the audience, and then all the people stand up of the descendants of the people. It was it messed me up, man.
I don't even remember Schindler's List. I've seen it maybe once in a couple of pieces, but I was so young. I've never even gone back to look.
I think it's a hard watch for when we were younger because it's black and white. I didn't discover it, like really watch it all the way through until I was in college, I want to say, or maybe like my senior year of high school. But it's black and white. It's 3 hours long, so it's kind of hard for a younger audience to do. But yeah, check it out. It's heavy. It's heavy.
I will.
Beetlejuice again. Danny Elfman. He either did like a lot of action movies. I can't forget about Mission Impossible, which is my favorite action franchise of all time. I love Mission Impossible's theme. I love it more than James Bond's theme, believe it or not. I think that it's more powerful than that. Usually that's a hot take, but like Rod might be on the same plane with me with that. And everybody has taken Danny Elfman's score in Mission Impossible and try to do something else with it, including Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer, I think he did the second one, and he just added on top of what Danny Elfman did. And then I think a couple other people that we're going to talk about later, they got a chance to do something with it too. So Mission Impossible is great. Beetlejuice. And so it's either like the Mission Impossible type of action franchise, or it was all Tim Burton stuff. Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp. He did all the weird move. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas,
yeah, he did that too. So any of those kind of quirky movies, you would probably recognize his music from that.
Right. I'm curious if now that I think about it, man, something that's on that lines is, have you ever seen Stepford Wives?
Mm-hmm. A while ago, but
Did he do that?
I don't
think about him about movies on that line. The Stepford Wives and what's that movie with Adam's Click? Who did Adam Sandler's Click? Because it seems like anything with also what's the weird guy that played in Click? He plays the same weird character in like almost every movie.
With Adam Sandler, he's the really big remote. He was the guy the really big right winger guy now, right?
I don't know.
So he didn't do Stepford Wives. Some guy named David Arnold did Stepford Wives. Click score, and then Click is. They're not even listing the score person for him on IMDb, so...
I was thinking, because Christopher Walken.
Oh, Christopher Walken! Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about him, yeah. He's got that weird, quirky part. Christopher Walken's a weirdo anyway.
He's in the new Dune that comes out in October.
Really?
Christopher Walken, he's up there. I thought he actually retired, but he's going to be in the new Dune movie.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You know what? This is totally off topic. I was thinking about it earlier. You know what I surprisingly didn't like?
What's that?
Or I didn't like? I didn't like the Avengers theme.
Really? I almost put that on here.
I didn't like it. Like initially, when the Avengers first came out, I was sitting there and I was like, "You could have did so much better than that." It grew on me because I love the Avengers so much, right? And it wasn't until Avengers Infinity War when not Infinity War, Avengers: Age of Ultron, when they were
Mm-hmm.
in that, little chapel like place fighting all of the
Where it looked like they were actually going to lose. I'm like, they're about to lose.
right.
You know?
Right, and they had all the robots coming at them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until they played the theme at that moment that I felt it. Before
Yeah.
any other time they played the Avengers theme, up until there, I was just like, man, I wish this mug was better than this, And
Yeah.
then then it grew on me. It's just, I think it was just, I don't know, maybe it was just that moment, that moment sealed it for me. The action kind of matched, because I think that was an incredible scene. I like the camera work, the camera work, how it's spinning around the guys. You know what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about? Real
They
nice.
all did their superhero pose before they jumped out.
Yeah,
That was scored by a guy named Alan Silvestri. I've heard of him in other stuff. I feel like he did some Trek, but yeah. Let's go ahead and move on. I already got you almost over time. I have to
bet.
shout out horror. Horror does not get enough accolades for what they do in terms of setting atmosphere, scores, setting atmosphere in horror films. Halloween is probably the gold standard. It kind of goes too quick for me to kind of hum, so I don't want to do that. But everybody knows the Halloween theme. They say I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to burst the color.
Doom, doom, doom. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Exorcist does great with their score. The Conjuring should have been nominated. Halloween should have won Best Score at the Academy Awards. Wasn't even nominated.
And what you call it? The Shining.
The Shining, Stanley
Yeah,
Kubrick's
yeah.
The Shining, Rosemary's Baby. A lot of the supernatural horror films are pretty good with it too. Jason doesn't really have a good theme. Freddy's is good. It's like a little synthesizer, very 80s sounding type of stuff. And
Yeah.
John Carpenter, he's done some other stuff in terms of film scoring. A lot of it's other horror films, but he also did like The Big Trouble in Little China in the 80s. He did Escape from New York, a bunch of other things. But if horror is my favorite
Genre.
genre, put some respect on his name. Put some respect on John Carpenter's name. Even the new Halloween movies that were from David Gordon Green that were kind of a mixed bag. John Carpenter's theme was on top of that. That was a chance to do right by him and at least give him a nomination. It did not happen. But
Did not happen.
do you like what's your favorite if you do like horror? What's your favorite franchise?
I like horror, but I'm kind of selective. I'll tell you one horror movie that I do like. Because I'm a deep story guy. I'm not like a slasher guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a deep story guy. So I like a lot of suspense. I like having to figure stuff out. Orphan.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Orphan?
I'm not going to spoil the twist to Orphan, but it's when you see it, it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw Orphan, and recently I saw the second. They did an Orphan 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that late last year. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Real
It was good. It started off being real cheesy, but when they kind of genre changed from being horror to actually being like a thriller type of movie with something that happens.
Yeah, agreed.
If you like deep stories, I think that any of the Robert Eggers films would be good. Or so like The Witch, is good. Or Hereditary. If you haven't seen Hereditary, that's probably the scariest film in the last 10 years.
I like.
Drag
Go ahead.
Drag Me to Hell from Sam Raimi would probably be something I would recommend too.
There is one that I want to see. You've probably seen it. What's that one with the mom? I think she's possessed or something, and like the little kid is looking at her through the peephole, and she's like, open up now. It's
Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise. Yeah, me and Casey, we keep saying we're gonna watch it together. Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It's very gory, like all the Evil Dead movies. It's more back towards like kind of like the original one, because the Evil Dead franchise kind of became like a horror comedy for the second, third, fourth films of the franchise, but it's like reverted back to being like serious horror, and it's a lot. It still has some funny moments, but it's really like disgusting in parts, and like, man, this is some jacked up stuff. It feels as evil as the title says. So I would definitely recommend it. Lights off, loud as you can, dark room. It's a good time.
Have you seen the one that's supposed to be real big? The one with the hand.
Talk to me. Yes.
Yeah.
The horror elements are really good, but there's some racial things that are in there that I didn't like. And it's made by Australians, and I don't know what the race relations stuff is going on in Australia, but their main character in this movie is a black woman, which is very rare for horror movies. But they do some things where they're dealing with like addiction, and they're accusing this character of a bunch of things that feels very, very insensitive from an American lens. And so it took me out of the movie quite a bit, even though the horror's top notch. It probably has some of the best horror I've seen in probably the last 2-3 years in terms of the scenes and the setups and the makeup and the atmosphere they create. Horror, I would give it a 5 out of 5. But because those elements with that main character were so bad for me at points, I'd probably give like a 3.5. It's like it's okay.
Gotcha.
But what's not a 3.5 is Rocky, my favorite film of all time. Dun 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 dun. This music, every Rocky film, and even what they're doing with the Creed films, where they've kind of used parts of the original theme "Gonna Fly" now. It makes these movies so inspirational, so enjoyable. I feel like my fat 250-pound self can run up some steps, even though it's probably not true. I get hype. I understand. This has been my favorite movie for so long. And something I share with your moms, because I know this is your mom's favorite movie too. It is like, no matter what comes out, I can put this, and I can think something that's going to eclipse Rocky, and then I'll watch Rocky. I'm like, no, this is still it.
Bill Conti, man, I don't even know what he was thinking when he did that, man. I have no idea. It is so iconic. I can play that right now. My mom had knee surgery, right?
Uh-huh.
I can play that right now, man. And I swear she'd try to get up and I'd be like, "Mama, sit down." Yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is, man. It's very champion. You know what I'm saying? It's very champion.
It's also what I love about the score for Rocky, especially what he does with Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, is it's obviously like the fight scenes, and you have like this huge orchestral thing going on, and the horns and all those types of things. But there's some really quiet moments where even though he's battling in all these movies are really about him wrestling with himself. There's a lot of introspection that goes into these films, and it gets quiet enough, and you hear like a little, I don't know what it is. It's like a clarinet or something, and it's like really, really tender when he's trying to face his doubts and get over whatever he has to get over with, or when it's dealing with Adrian, who is so like, it does what it needs to do. And it's crazy they were able to get Bill Conti to do the track for this, because Rocky was so cheaply made. Like, how did they afford him to write all this music, to get all this stuff recorded? I'm like, I feel like y'all had to blow half the budget just on the score, but they made it happen. So,
but you'd be surprised, man, that back then, like newer film score writers, man, wasn't getting paid a lot of money back then, man. You could get just about anybody to write a film score, So it was, I'll just say we were graced to be able to experience something like Rocky from Bill Conti, man. That's just beautiful. Like the piano work extremely simple. You know what I'm saying? The chord structure's extremely simple. Lots of brass. Like you mentioned, in the soft parts, piano and the clarinet. I believe there's an oboe in there, and some soft strings, man. Just real simple, and very simple melodies. Yeah.
He didn't really get a lot of work. He did. He did the Karate Kid, which I think also is nowhere near as iconic as this, but pretty iconic score from the 80s. But outside of that, I couldn't really find much that he's done, which is strange since, what he was able to accomplish with those two films. I'm hoping it wasn't anything personal that kept him from succeeding. But so we're going to run through these last four really, really quick and just get some quick thoughts. I did want to give a shout out to Michael Abels for Get Out's theme. If you guys don't remember Get Out's theme, there is a link in the description below. One of the few black composers out there. It's such a weird. It's almost funny until you get like midway through the movie and he start hearing this like some of the stuff that he does with this. It's a lot of unlike a lot of scores that we've talked about. I think maybe Bill Conti's score, Going to Fly Now, is the only one that has some singing in it. But Get Out's score, it has a lot of, it's much more choral focus as opposed to instrumentals. Right. And that's what he does for all, he's done all of Jordan Poole's films, by the way. So Nope's, I just like Get Out's the best. What you got anything to say about Abels here?
Get Out, again, I started paying attention to the score when he went in the sunken room. Mm-hmm. Because it kind of had that. It kind of gave me. It kind of gave me Zimmerman vibe or Zimmer vibes, and Inception. Mm-hmm. That haunting long notes. Kind of gave me that same vibe, and I was like, dude, it was right on point. It was right on point. Not a whole lot of movement, just allowing you to sit there in that moment. Crazy.
I'm hoping that we see him for a long time and he starts to get some. I mean, if he continues to be like a collaborator with Jordan, I can say Jordan Poole.
Peele.
But if he continues to be like Jordan Peele's guy, just like Hans Zimmer is Christopher Nolan's guy, and John Williams is Steven Spielberg's guy. If they make a lot of movies together, that'd be great. But I'd like to see him work with some other directors too, and maybe get outside of the sci-fi horror genre to see what he can do. But I like what he's done.
Get outside.
Yeah, get out, and just expand a little bit. The reason why I got the idea for this is because of Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, all three. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and The Return of the King. All of them won Best Score at the Academy Awards 3 years in a row. Wow. And I think it's, when you listen, there's so much music that Howard Shore wrote for these films. Mm-hmm. And all of them are incredible. Like when you're in the Shire, that recorder that he plays to, dun, 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 like when the adventure is starting with Aragorn, like everything is so purposeful. Say again?
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings. None of them. Take that back. I just started to try to get in one like late last year, the very first one. Mm-hmm. But outside of that,
I'm gonna have to have you over, man. I've been trying to get somebody to do a what do you call it? Just watch all three of them, or watch two, and then watch the next one the next day. We block out a week and just cram through them. I probably wouldn't do the extended ones because there's stuff that was cut that probably should have been cut. There's a standard version is probably just fine. But the Lord of the Rings is my favorite trilogy of all time. I thought that it might be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse after the third one came out because the second one was so good. But then I went and watched Two Towers. I'm like, it's just so good. I loved the books when I was younger, and so I knew the lore going into it. That probably helped. But every character's just cast perfectly, even if you don't know anything about the story.
You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about Harry Potter. That's what I'm thinking about.
This is the one with Gandalf and Legolas and Aragorn and Gimli, the dwarf, and Harry Potter. Harry Potter's the 9 movies with Hogwarts and stuff like that.
Right.
So you do know what I'm talking about with these films, then, in terms of its score.
Yeah.
I actually just ended up just putting the whole playlist in the comment section or in the description for people to enjoy. Each part is probably like 2-3 minutes, but there's different parts for everything from the war scenes in different movies to when they're in the Mines of Moria to, like I said, the Shire to whatever you want. They got something that's like a banger for it. So amazing music there. I know I'm almost out of time, so I promised I was going to get you out of here by 6. I want to give a shout out to some animators and animation.
Okay.
Up is the last animated movie to win Best Score at the Oscars.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
the composer is Michael Giacchino. He did Ratatouille. He's done one of the Mission Impossibles. Actually, two of the Mission Impossible movies: Inside Out, the Star Trek films, Beyond, Into the Darkness, and all that stuff. So he's done a lot of varied things, but he's probably known more for animation than the other stuff. I also want to get a shout out right here to Randy Newman. I didn't put him on here, but the Toy Story movies and everything that he's scored too is pretty good too.
Yeah.
So animation. I didn't say this at the top, but I feel like certain movies benefit from soundtracks more than the actual, which is part of the score, but actual singing. Like comedies, like Waiting to Exhale and Love and Basketball, Do the Right Thing is a drama, but comedy specifically, Coming to America, I feel like the soundtrack is more important than the actual score throughout the movie.
Right.
And a lot of romance movies like that as well. Whereas your dramas and your sci-fis and horrors and stuff, they deal better with the scores. And animation is kind of a blend of both, right? You get great music in terms of stuff you can sing along to, but it also has great scores in the background that's helping to move these movies along.
And I think the reason why that is, man, is because there's a deeper emotional aspect in horror and action and suspense. There's a deeper emotional aspect in those than there is comedy. So the instrumentation has to be different. The composition, it has to be different. It has to be, like you said, it's more of a what was the term you used? Not the playlist, but the of like the
soundtrack.
Yeah. Right,
it's usually pop music or R&B if we're looking at a black comedy, or rock music if it's an 80s comedy like Say Anything or something like that. 16 Candles, right?
Right. Like they even did that in the new Thor, which I ended up liking and not. They made him a little stupider than I wanted him to be, and so they had a lot of soundtrack type stuff, not a whole lot of instrumentation because it was 80s heavy anyway. So
probably Guardians of the Galaxy. It's probably the best blend in an action film between soundtrack and score that I can think of, because they purposely curate the music for Guardians. Yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. I liked it better than most people because I really enjoyed how it was geared towards kids. And I thought that Marvel kind of got away from that, especially small kids. When everybody got the powers of Thor at the end of that film, like all the little kids, little orphans, whatever. I'm like, that is so cute. And that kind of won me over for the movie. But even like Chris Hemsworth and other people in the actors said they probably should have pulled back on some of the jokes and stuff, and they were just kind of like kids in a candy shop and couldn't help themselves, and they probably would have done it differently. But it was a little bit sillier than what it should have been.
Right. Definitely sillier than I expected for Thor. I hope they bring it back. I hope they bring him back to, the godlike man, that he had been before. In the next two.
Well, the main issue was that, and it was one of my critiques. It's like, you can't have super serious Thor from Infinity War and Endgame. This guy has been through, and also the end of Ragnarok when he loses Asgard. He's been through a bunch of stuff. He's battle hardened and all these things. Just to have him revert back to being this goofball from the first movie, that's just a character regression that nobody was going to appreciate at that point.
Almost like he lost his mind.
Yeah, at least play it up like he's like you said, like there's something mentally wrong with him, but they didn't. He was just a goofy dude again. It's like, okay. Next up after Up, we didn't really talk about Up much, but Up is great. It's great music. A lot of Pixar's aren't musicals, so I think about Up. I think about Ratatouille, which he also did. I think about the Incredible score, which he didn't do. I don't think. But those musics have to have good scores because they're not musicals like other Disney properties.
Right.
So, and this one won the Oscar. So, and a pretty heavy, crowded playing field too. So, great song there. I want to talk about da 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 da. The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is my favorite Western of all time. I love this 3.5 hour, slow burn of a movie. Fistful of Dollars and a few dollars more, they're cool too. But the Good, the Bad, the Ugly, the original Sergio Leone spaghetti Western, this Italian Western is so much fun. It's so silly. It's not silly. It's just like silly fun in a way that only Westerns can do. I never was a really big fan of the other Western guy, the one that was kind of racist. There's Clint Eastwood. He's kind of like the young guy, and it was a guy that from The Searchers and movies like that. Anyway, I didn't like him, so I'm going to mention him anyway. But Clint Eastwood in these movies are great. But that whistling score from this one, John Wayne. I wasn't a big John Wayne fan.
Yeah, right.
Amazing movie with amazing score, very simple score, and he's done a lot of movies. He did Bulworth, which is a comedy. He did Lolita, which is pretty good. The Untouchables. He did a lot of stuff with Brian De Palma, who was a really big '80s, early '90s action director. He won his first Oscar at the age of he was up there. I think he was an octogenarian at this point. For The Hateful Eight with Quentin Tarantino, he scored that movie and won his first Oscar. And he's been working longer than anybody we've talked about. He's got scores from way back in the 50s. It's when he started. So from the 50s to 2016 or whenever that film came out, no recognition by the highest Academy, but he finally gets one. So, but not much more to say about this. Let you have something to add, and then I'm gonna go to our last one. Oh, this is our last one. So,
is it?
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that you have. No, I'm good on the Western. I'm not very up on that, but if you bring my dad in, he'll be able to tell you about it. He's a big Western fan.
The reason I got into Western is because my grandma was a big Western fan. If it wasn't like Matlock or any of those old shows, old TV like detective shows or In the Heat of the Night or any of those films, she's watching a Western. That's the true tilt to this day. And Dragnet. So when I would go over to my grandma's house over the summer because mom had to work, right? What are we watching? In the morning, it's a Wheel of Fortune. Not Wheel of Fortune. It's what's the Bob Barker's show? Price is Right. The Price is Right. And then it would transition to The Young and the Restless, so you can watch that with her. You can go outside. Bold and the Beautiful. Then it would go to the Westerns, right? And then in the evening, it would be the Matlocks and the Murder, She Wrote and all that type of stuff. So, yeah.
Hey man, why did grandparents dominate the television when the kids came over?
I'm like, I know this was new technology for you, but that was years ago. You should be used to it now. Like let me watch Gargoyles, please. Can I watch Gargoyles? Can I watch Aladdin? The anime series.
Speaking of Gargoyles, man, did you see that? Oh, you probably know. They're coming out with one.
About time.
That is gonna be dope, man. And
it's about time.
Is it the creator of the Transformers? Is that who's doing it?
It's not Michael Bay, is it?
I think so. That's why I got excited about it. I could be wrong.
Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh is. Do you know who that is? I don't want to be.
No, I don't. I'm not.
I don't want to. over explain to you. Kenneth Branagh, he was the guy who did the first two Thor movies, Thor and Thor: The Dark World. He did Belfast most recently. That was nominated for Oscar a couple of years ago. He's done a bunch of British stuff. He's really known. He's the guy that's, if you're into the Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie movies, so Murder on Orient Express, he has that new Haunting at Venice is coming out. He's the French detective in those movies.
Got you. Okay.
He got his start. And what he's known for before he became a director and an actor in Hollywood was Shakespearean plays, like West End type of stuff. Which, if he's directing Gargoyles, if you remember how, I know it was voiced by a black guy, but he kind of used like that kind of like really the timbre of his voice kind of felt British and felt very regal, you know, because they're royalty, right? So I like that. Because at the end of the day, even though the Gargoyles are in the middle of New York or whatever it is, they come from, you know, Camelot, basically, right?
Right.
So that's a good director. He's an Oscar nominated director. I actually do not like Michael Bay, at least most of his newer stuff. I haven't really been able to rock. I don't like really any of the Transformer films. I like Bad Boys 1 and 2. I don't like. I like The Rock. I like the new ones that he's not involved with. I think that. I just don't think that for him to spend so much money. I liked Armageddon. Armageddon's silly, but I liked Armageddon. But for him to spend so much money, I feel like Transformers, especially after the first one he directed, you can't tell who's an Autobot or Decepticon in any of these fights. It just looks like a bunch of junk being thrown at each other. I think that that mud flap thing in the second one, like those two little racist little pickaninny Transformers, that pissed me off. He's very, very sexist in those. Like there's just nothing to, and the stories are dumb. And it was like he'll build this lore and act like he's going to have like a long-term vision for stories, and then he'll just make something up that has nothing to do with the last one. And it's like, but I thought that this was what happened to Optimus Prime. Like they're stranded because of this. No, it's something else because F it. That's why. You know, it's just like he's just a nonsensical director who belongs in the 90s, and that's where he was good. But since then, he's just, and they're not really giving him money to make movies anymore. At least he's a really good producer, getting really cool things made now. I think he's better a producer in the 21st century than he is a director. I'll say that. He's not terrible, but those Transformer movies were trash. Last Stand all the way back.
What's funny is I got started on them late because first time I saw Transformers, I turned it off because of the thing that you were saying. Yeah, I couldn't tell what was happening in the and the graphics. It just looked like a ball of metal that was I was like, I don't know what's happening, and then it's one of those things that you have to watch over and over again to let your eyes adjust to what's happening.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do that. So, like I said, Armageddon, silly,
I love Armageddon.
But good.
I love Armageddon. You think Armageddon's silly?
I think it's silly. Oh, he did Ambulance. Did he direct Ambulance? I liked Ambulance. Yeah, he directed Ambulance with Jake Gyllenhaal and Abdul Yahya Mateen. It came out either last year or 2 years ago. It's basically they rob these banks, and there's this bank in LA for this big score. And it's basically just a huge car chase scene in the middle of LA. It's the type of movie that Michael Bay should be making, as opposed to this sci-fi stuff. That was pretty good. That was really fun. So he did that. Pearl Harbor's terrible. Six Underground, that was terrible. Yeah, he's just hit or miss. I am over time with you. I promised I was going to get you out of here by 6. It's 6:07. I know you are a busy man. Roddy, I appreciate this conversation so much. Let people know any final thoughts first about scores and what people should, if people want to have an ear for scores as they're watching films, what would you suggest? Like, what would help them really appreciate the film score more? Do you think film scores are appreciated pretty modestly as it is now.
Man, to me, it's not as complicated as you would think. It's basically, how does it make you feel? Like when I go into trying to compose for anything, um, but specifically in regards to looking at a piece of film at the same time, how does it make you feel? And when you see when you see the picture and you hear the sound together, does it
Mm-hmm.
stir you? You know, that's really it. When Nemo lost his dad, you know, is it,
Mm-hmm.
are you just sitting there laughing at Nemo? You know, and if you're not, if it actually gets you, it's the music that got you. It's not the fact that Nemo is crying tears underwater. I'm not even sure how that's possible. But it's not because he's crying. It's because the music, that sad sound, you know, has
Uh-huh.
connected with Nemo. You know, that's how, you know. To me, that's how you find and compose a good score. You just gotta connect with it. You know.
I think that what you're saying is so important, and also um, when to not use it, because that's the thing that irritates me. Is like, sometimes I think music can be overused in bad film to cover up
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of times the bad acting or bad directing. And I feel like, turn this crap off. Like, I can't hear, like, I don't care about this music right now. And
I can't remember what film it was that I saw something like that. I was like, dude, I think it was one of Tyler Perry's films,
Tyler Perry's
and
notorious for it.
it was just like, dude, there doesn't need to be any music right here. You know, it's almost like he's covering up, like you said, for acting that he knows is not really great. However, in Tyler Perry's defense, man, I will say of all of Tyler Perry's movies, it's totally off topic. I'll have to go with what was the one with the one where she killed the husband on the boat at the end? Acrimony.
Mm-hmm.
You know what my theory is about Acrimony?
What's
Tyler
that?
Perry. Tyler Perry didn't write it. It
Really?
that movie is just that movie's just that good. I think he bought it. I think
He,
somebody else. I think somebody else wrote it and he bought it
he put his name on it. It
because
happens.
it's nothing like any of the rest of his stuff, man. It's so beyond. It's so far beyond what Tyler Perry does. I don't think he did it. I just don't.
Acrimony is one of his better ones. I'm trying to think of any of the movies that I really. His first one, Diary of the Mad Black Woman, is probably his best that I
Mm,
liked.
to me,
Um,
it was still very Tyler Perry-ish.
it's very
And what I
Tyler
mean,
Perry.
what I mean, like, you know, Tyler Perry. You know, all the guys in it have great bodies. All the women are very attractive. Everybody in there can sing. All the black people are rich. You know, it was just,
It's
you know.
it's the old Boondocks joke about how they had that Boondocks episode about the guy Tyler Perry, how it's always a light skinned man, it's the savior, the dark skinned evil lawyer, and
Right, right,
yeah,
exactly.
it's I actually like his plays way better than I like his movies. I think the plays like fit the type of Tyler Perry-ness of him. If you watch any
Hmm.
of and they're so funny because of the ad libs
Yeah,
in there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
the movies
I
just don't
and
capture the. Maybe I would enjoy Tyler Perry more if I didn't see the plays first, and like I just want him to just be stupid like that. But
uh,
it just never gets there because of the way they have to edit movies. Um,
right.
Real quick, I want to acknowledge one more comment here. Tina Bibbs says anime. I should have put some anime on here. Anything from Miyazaki's films, from that he's done with Studio Ghibli, they're always beautifully scored. Akira's score is really, really raucous and loud and crazy to
Mm,
fit the kind of the end of the world type of thing with that. Um, Probably of the Miyazaki films, I really like. Obviously, Spirited Away is probably the easy answer, but I also like Howling's uh, Howl's Moving Castle. I think it's the name of it. I think the score there is pretty good. And then
man,
anime in general, is just crazy music.
I am
So
not an anime fan. Like
no,
from Pokemon to Dragon Ball Z, I have never watched any of it.
yeah,
Oh
though
well. With the take that back. I watched enough of Pokemon to learn Jigglypuff's song.
Jigglypuff. See,
Jigglypuff.
That's not good. Well, I will say this that I won't say that Pokemon's not a good anime. I think it's good for. It's made for like 5 and 6 year olds. Dragon Ball Z is not a good anime. That's not. I wouldn't judge
Really?
it based off of that. If I sent you some suggestions, you have HBO Max.
Yeah.
All of the Studio Ghibli stuff's on there, and I mean, Spirited Away is it's not just my favorite anime movie, but it's probably in the top 10 of my movies of all time.
I just never liked it, man. I never liked to see. I don't like the animation. I don't like the way it is. Like when somebody's moving real fast, they're just like and there's these streams of light, just going one direction. Like, I don't like that.
That makes me even more want you to see either Spirited Away or My Neighbor Totoro or Ponyo or something like that from Miyazaki, because they're not action. These are like regular kind of slice of life. If anything, Spirited Away is probably more of a horror kind of anime than anything. But even then, it's like this little kid. It's you wouldn't have any of those fight scenes. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'll
to me, it's almost like for me, anime is almost like they got really lazy with the animation, so they just took a bunch of screenshots and just just screenshot.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels to me. I don't know. I have to check it out.
I'm about to send you like 50 movies. like you have to change your mind. You have to change your mind. You're like, all right, Brian. Okay.
Send me the best.
Really quick, I am just a couple of notes from me. I am still publishing on BrianKnowsMovies.com. I have been working on my website to fix some stuff, but I'm going to actually go see the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem tonight. I plan to write a review and have it up there on BrianKnowsMovies.com tomorrow. I am going to be producing more of my reviews in written format because of some other things going on, I just can't do the YouTube videos right now. Eventually they'll come back, but not for a while. I'll have that review out. Also, I'm excited to be contributing to the Kansas City Defender, KC Defender, right here in Kansas City. It's a publication that is dedicated to black journalism, black news, trying to basically uncover truths that other outlets are not covering. They've broken down huge stories in terms of everything from black women disappearing here to Kansas City to people being killed by hate crimes and things like that nobody else is covering. It's the KansasCityDefender.com. If you put in KCDefender.com, it will redirect from there too. I wrote a review for They Clone Tyrone, and I'll be reviewing other black film or black film adjacent things for the KC Defender moving forward. So please check me out there. Roddy, where can we find you? What should we be looking at for your next projects? What would you like to plug?
You guys can find me on my socials, RCBJR Music. You can find that on TikTok. You can find it on Instagram. You can find it on YouTube. That is my only YouTube channel. That is RCBJR. I noticed you left the R off the.
I'm sorry, guys. RCBJR. My bad.
It's RCBJR Music. There you can find on YouTube. You can find my film score work. You can find my silly bops. You can find my reality series. I'm producing a reality series about an artist named Maya. It's called Maya to the Top. Check out those episodes. I got episode 3 coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I also have some other stuff in the works. I'm not gonna say too much about those, but I got some different type of content. I'm almost starting a network, man. I just want to produce as much content as possible, make it available. I got a lot of great ideas up to the point that I'll start doing films. You can follow my production channel at Carter Media Creative. That's ran by me and my brother, Bruce Hughes. Carter Media Creative. That's on Instagram, and RCBJR Music on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and Facebook. I'm also a photographer, but that's RCBJR Photography.
I put all of his handles in the comment section so you can check those out and link to them. Check out the music, enjoy some music, and more than anything, enjoy some movies. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the 25th episode of See It, a show about movies and stuff. Thank you, and I will see you at the theaters next week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Brian.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.